Partnerships through the very beginning of our work with PAB have been essential. We couldn't be where we are without our partners. Reason being that together we come to a place of strategizing and finding pathways for change to happen. Our partners hold very much of the same values that are important for us, not necessarily faith-based. One example is ICCR, or the Interfaith Center for Corporate Responsibility. They have been our partners from the very, very beginning of PAB.
I'm Josh Zinner. I'm the CEO of the Interfaith Center on Corporate Responsibility. ICCR started in 1971 when a group of faith-based investors began engaging with companies that were doing business in apartheid South Africa, really pressing them on the impacts of their business on people. And from that really pioneered a lot of these strategies of engaging with companies as shareholders on social and environmental impacts. And today ICCR is a coalition of over 300 institutional investors. And what we do is we help to organize our members to engage with the public companies that they're holding as shareholders on their environmental and social impacts. So that includes dialogue with companies. Our members are in dialogue with hundreds of companies every year. And when the companies were not able to move the companies forward on this range of issues, our members then file shareholder resolutions, which are a way to bring issues to shareholders, to management, to boards, and really highlight areas of concern. And so the areas that our members choose priorities every 5 years, and the areas of priority for ICCR members, the areas that we focus on in staff, are advancing worker justice, climate change and environmental justice, equitable global supply chains, health equity, human rights, and then we do a lot of work also on corporate political influence, corporate lobbying, and political spending. ICCR is really unique in that as a coalition at our core of faith-based investors, the conversation for ICCR members really starts with the impact of corporate practices on people and planet, and not about the value of investments. And that's really the core of the work we do. The Adrian Dominicans are one of our oldest members and very, very active for decades. Just incredible activity within ICCR, really making a huge impact in their work. Starting in 1976, that's when, as we understand, was the first resolution filed by Adrian Dominicans, and it was around the promotion by Abbott of infant formula as an alternative to breastfeeding in Latin America, and the impact that was having on mothers and on communities. And really, that was sort of one of the leading resolutions in that whole movement to really push back against the push marketing of infant formula in the global South. And then it's amazing as we went back and looked at the history of filing and dialogue by the Adrian Dominicans that they've been involved in virtually every area of corporate accountability and corporate responsibility that we've taken as a coalition. So they were amongst those that helped to pressure companies doing business in South Africa during the era of apartheid. They successfully advocated, the Adrian Dominican sisters, for the McBride principles for fair employment in Northern Ireland. Around financial services, they were amongst the first filers really in the lead up to the financial crash, really pushing banks that were redlining communities of color to provide more access to credit and fair lending in disadvantaged communities and communities of color. Around climate change, they were amongst the first filers to really push companies on their greenhouse gas emissions, and of course that movement gained a lot of traction and continues to this day. That's still a priority area for the Adrian Dominicans, and I should say that ICCR members, Adrian Dominican sisters included, were really the very first investors to begin asking these questions of companies in the early 90s and really pushing them on disclosure of their greenhouse gas emissions. So we're really in the vanguard there. On labor issues, the Adrian Dominican Sisters were in the forefront of advocating for the rights of workers, especially around sweatshops or maquiladoras along the border and in Central America, and continue to this day to lead advocacy around global supply chains and the conditions of workers in global supply chains for big brands like Walmart and Disney. And they were also amongst the leaders, the Adrian Dominican Sisters, in pushing environmental health issues, so around the long-term effects of tobacco, GMOs, pesticides, and chemicals on people and planet, and were one of the founding, or have been a critical voice in the Investor Environmental Health Network, which is a network that works with ICCR around the impacts of chemicals on environmental health and corporate responsibility for those impacts. In addition, Judy Byron has been a long-time leader in ICCR's work on health equity, and particularly leading the engagement with Merck on this topic. This is an area of long-time importance to ICCR members, where we've really been pushing the pharma companies on access and affordability of essential medicines. And that work today takes the form of really asking questions as investors to the pharma companies about their use and abuse of the patent system, to continue to block access to more affordable generics and really impede access and affordability of essential medicines. So that's another leading area. It's a very long list of active advocacy by the Adrian Dominican Sisters, very much in line, working lockstep and collaboratively with ICCR members on so many critical issues of the day, and just so happy to be here and to be celebrating the accomplishments of the Adrian Dominican Sisters and everything that they've done, and really to hold corporations accountable. The Adrian Dominican Sisters have been part of this movement, along with other ICCR members, to really push back on the notion that companies should maximize profit in the short term, regardless of the damaging impact that they're having on people, communities, and on systems. So that, in so many of these issue areas that I've discussed, the sisters have had an impact with individual companies, but they've also been in the vanguard of investors who have really been driving this conversation, that investors don't just care about short-term profits regardless of consequences, but are much more concerned about the broader impacts that corporate practices can have on people and planet. The collaborative work has been really central to the success that we've had all of us at ICCR. None of us can go at it alone, and one of the beautiful things about the coalition is everybody is in it to work together. Nobody's in it like, I want to do this myself, but really joining the coalition and wanting to work collaboratively with others with a goal of really social change and having an impact. And the Adrian Dominican Sisters have really embodied that spirit. Very hopeful that we'll be able to continue this strong partnership that we've had over nearly 50 years, that has been so fruitful for ICCR and for the Adrian Dominican Sisters as well. Well, from our perspective at ICCR, our hopes for the PAB is that they can continue to be a leader in the shareholder engagement space, using their investments to press for social and environmental justice, and sincerely hope that PAB can maintain the vitality and the staff and the resources to be able to really contribute in the way that they have in the last almost 50 years. That there's so much important work to do together, and really looking forward to a strong PAB that can be a very vibrant partner for ICCR.